And good afternoon. I'm Tracy Sinclair. With me is Rebecca Polsha. We just wanted to give you an update. We have been able to speak to the family of Easter Leafa, who was the 16-year-old girl shot by police late last night, actually. So, Rebecca, you've been involved in this since we've started tracking this story. Kind of give us just the basics of what we know so far.
Well, what we know so far was that the family was in an apartment complex. There's a lot of people, a lot of very large family, lots of grandkids, lots of aunts and uncles. Everybody's in the apartment. And Easter, who's just turned 16 last month, is upset with another sister who's 21. And the two sisters kind of are in a little bit of a fight. And this is what the family says is the words they use is that Easter hit her sister with a knife. I don't know what hit entails, but that's the word choice that they have. And so that sister, the 21-year-old, called the police. So when the police arrive, there's multiple people in the apartment complex, and the situation just seems to really escalate very quickly with multiple people kind of shouting at each other at this point. And that at some point is when Anchorage police, one officer fires multiple shots, and it kills Easter.
So this morning, Police Chief Sean Case did hold a press conference. It is fairly brief. It's only about 3 minutes long. So we'd like to play that for you right now so you can hear how it was reported by police earlier today.
Good morning. Last night at approximately 11:32 p.m., officers involved were involved in a shooting when they were responding to a disturbance between two family members. The caller advised that her sister was threatening her with a knife. When officers arrived on scene, they made contact with the subject. They gave the subject some commands. The subject approached them while still holding the knife, and one single officer fired multiple rounds. A second officer fired a round with a less lethal projectile. Officers provided medical support. Medics transported the subject to a hospital where she was declared deceased. The subject that was shot was a 16-year-old female. She would have started her junior year in high school on Thursday. This is a tragic incident. There's no other way to describe it. As police officers, we strive to protect human life. And when we don't meet that goal, there's no other way to describe it than it's tragic. This is our 6th OIS in the last 3 months. And we are committed to continue to look at our training, our tactics, as well as our supervision in these types of incidents to try to prevent future officer-involved shootings. The incident was caught on body-worn camera. We will have a follow-up press conference on Monday at 1 p.m. We currently just have the information that officers had going to the scene. We haven't done any interviews with the involved officers. So the follow-up press conference will be designed to provide further information that is given to us during some of our interviews and review of all the body-worn camera footage. Any questions?
Did both of the women involved live in that apartment building?
I don't know that for sure.
What high school is she going to go to?
That I won't say.
Can you talk about the decision? One officer shot less than lethal rounds and the other officer fired with his gun. Can you talk about the decision between why different methods?
So I can't tell you about their individual decisions because they haven't been interviewed, but typically our training, I shouldn't say typically, our training does involve when you have a less lethal projectile or any sort of less lethal tool like a taser, for instance, that we always have lethal with that officer. So you'll see an officer that will have a handgun or a rifle or some sort of lethal projectile as well as a less lethal at the same time. And each officer is making a determination to use the tool that they have with them based on the circumstances in front of them.
What kind of less than lethal projectile was used in this situation?
It was a 40 millimeter.
Time for 2 more questions? Do you know how many times that he shot, or either the one who fired multiple shots?
Not at this time.
And so that was the end of the press conference. It was very brief, as I said, just a little more than 3 minutes long. You've been following the stories we said from the beginning. What have you learned about Easter, Leafa?
I have spoken with Easter's mother, her aunts and uncles, and some of her siblings as well. They describe her as a girl who likes to be at home. They say that she was a homebody, is the words they use, which I thought was fun. And they say she loved to sing and was very quiet and was really like a kind of a surrogate mother almost. They said she loved her nieces and nephews and treated all the children like they were all her own children. So clearly it's a very close family, and she seemed like someone who just was really happier and more comfortable and at ease being with her family. And there's many reasons for that, and one of the reasons is that she moved here just 4 or 5 months ago from America Samoa. And language was a barrier here as well. The family said, culturally things are different with police being involved in a situation between America Samoa and here, which would naturally happen, and then also a language breakdown.
And we also learned that Easter would have been going to East High School.
She would have been going to East High School. She had just enrolled, and the chief in that video said she started school on Thursday. It might be Friday because most of the high school kids start school on Friday. I don't know if it's different because she was a new student there. Right. ASD has sent out a press release saying that they would have counselors at the school. I'm not sure if she had friends at East High already, but this was going to be her first year as a junior there. So probably not as well known to some of the students.
And you also had the chance, you said you talked to some of her siblings and her mother briefly. We do have a short clip. What are we going to hear from the family right now?
This is with a clip with an aunt, some sisters, and the mother, and they're all kind of talking together about what had happened that night from each of their different points of view because they each were in a different place in the apartment at the time.
They don't know she's a minor. They didn't even ask whose house it was. They just walked up in the house. My mom was sitting. They didn't even ask who was the mother.
My mom was literally sitting on the couch as they walked in. The gun was not even like it was just already straightforward.
Reporting, she's not a social person. We could talk to her. She'll drop it, and she will be back to herself any minute. But he denied us. So, them going at her like that, and she doesn't know that much. She just moved here. It's very different here than how it is back home, and how the system works here.
At this point, we want justice because that was not right. She was a minor. They should have asked questions when they came in. Instead, they came in ready, looking like they were ready to shut her down. So we want justice for our sister. And we need answers. We need that body cam they had, no cuts, full camera, full video. This is very heartbreaking, not only for us, our sisters and our mom who witnessed the whole thing.
After they
Just a
shot her.
16-year-old came to the U.S. looking for a good school in the future. Now she's gone.
So messed up, man.
And that was just a few minutes of your conversation.
We spoke about 20 minutes today.
Yeah, with some of her family members, her sister's aunt and her mother. And they did mention that the officer was wearing a body-worn camera. What is the new policy? Do you know the new policy? I don't know it well enough. I know. When do we expect to see more from this?
I think we can expect something Monday. That's when the next press conference is going to be. And at this stage, because things have only been a few hours old, according to the police chief, they still have not interviewed the officers involved in this, so they don't know their process. So this is for them very beginning stages. So we will have a press conference with APD on Monday at 1 o'clock. We're hoping to hear more about what happened, because I've asked, how many times did an officer fire shots? It's just several times. So nailing down solid answers at this point is difficult.
We don't have any of the specifics, just multiple shots from one officer, and then the second officer shot a non-lethal type and fired at least once. So not a lot of information. We will have more, of course, tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10 on Alaska's News Source, and we'll be following the story throughout the week and until obviously next Monday, when we'll have that follow-up with Anchorage Police and what the next steps are.
Yeah, I definitely want to add to that. The family reached out to us and they wanted to be a part of this because they wanted to have their voice heard about what they saw from this situation, because they wanted people to know about Easter.
Very good. So thank you so much for joining us again. You'll see more tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10 on Alaska's News Source.